Welcome to this episode of the story. Have you subscribed yet? Chapter 1: The Awakened Brush Tears of Ink. The copying division of the Heavenly Law Compilation Bureau had never known prosperity, especially as the year-end Lunar La Yu approached. The cold wind in the corridor cut like ice-edged blades, sneaking through the gaps in the window frames and flickering the candle flame on the desk. Shen Yan pulled his faded linen clerk's robe tighter around himself, his fingertips brushing over the stiff paper. This was the 37th volume of the Zhuangzi Domain Law Canon, Civil Life chapter he had copied that day. Every character had to match the rubric sent down from the upper floors exactly, even the thickness of each stroke. Any deviation would trigger a red glow from the Law Patrol Guard's gilded plates, marking a violation of the error character law and costing him 3 months' wages. He was a mortal without a spiritual root. 3 years earlier, at 15, Shen Yan had traveled to the bureau with silver scraped together by his villagers, hoping to become a clerk. During the spiritual root test, the detection stone had only emitted a faint gray light. The overseeing official had glanced at him coldly and sneered, "Your spiritual root is too muddled. You can't even achieve the basic key attraction realm. You're only fit to copy documents." Since then, he had been consigned to the abandoned archive room at the deepest corner of the copying division, Gates-and-Frobe. Tasked with organizing century-old files, dusty scrolls, even rats avoided, filled with records the Bureau wanted forgotten. Like the ink calamity of the 3rd year of Yongle, when the prison division had burned 1,000 caddies of spirit-awakened ink ingots, along with a dozen monks who had dared to question the act. The archive room sat at the lowest level of the copying division, with creaking wooden floors above and damp blue stone beneath. The air reeked of perpetual mildew and the faint smell of burnt paper. Shen Yan stacked the last bundle of files labeled Yongle Year 5, abandoned canons in the corner. Straightening up with a wince, years of hunching over his desk had left his lower back aching. He rubbed his purple, frozen hands, his gaze drifting to a rusted iron cabinet in the corner. It was locked with 3 brass padlocks, their cores long corroded shut. According to rumors among the clerks, it held relics of ancient error-correcting monks, and anyone who touched it would be arrested by the Bureau's suppression guards. No one's going to check anyway. Might as well see what's inside. A thought flickered through Shen Yan's mind. He had long been curious about the cabinet. Every night when he worked late, he heard faint rustling sounds coming from within, as if something was moving. He pulled a sharpened copper strip from his desk, his tool for picking apart old bookbindings, and inserted it into the corroded lock core. With a twist, there was a crisp click, and the first lock gave way. The second and third followed, each click making the rustling inside the cabinet grow clearer. The cabinet door was heavier than he expected. Shen Yan strained to pry it open a crack, and a wave of thick mildew mixed with a faint metallic tang of blood wafted out, making him frown. He reached inside, his fingers first brushing soft, old paper, then something cold and hard like a piece of bone, wrapped in dark red brocade. "What is this?" Shen Yan pulled the object out and held it under the candlelight. It was a blackened, broken brush made from what looked like a human finger bone, roughly 3 inches long, carved with intricate patterns caked in dust from decades of neglect. The tip was frayed, leaving only a blurry stub. He was about to put it back when a sharp pain shot through his fingertip. The cut from the copper strip earlier hadn't healed, and a bead of fresh blood dripped onto the brush handle. The moment the blood touched the brush, the dull bone suddenly glowed with a faint cyan light. Dust fell from its surface, revealing 2 ancient seal characters etched into the handle, shooting. Shen Yan jumped, nearly dropping the brush. He clutched it tightly, feeling a warm pulse from within, as if a life was stirring inside. But the strangeness didn't end there. The dark green ink ingot he had used for 3 years let out a soft crack. A drop of inky black liquid seeped from its edge, like a tear, sliding down the ingot's corner and onto the rice paper. It spread into a dark stain, which slowly formed 5 small characters, Mo Ding Bu De Hualing. Shen Yan recognized this immediately. It was a rule from the Zhuangzi Domain Law Canon Artifacts chapter, one he had copied so many times he knew it by heart. "What's happening?" Shen Yan stood up, only to feel the blue stone floor tremble beneath his feet. The candle flame flickered wildly, and old file bags fell from the walls, their contents scattering across the floor. His gaze darted to the stone turtle-shaped paperweight on his desk. He had found it in a scrap heap when he first arrived, its back carved with two indistinct characters he had never identified. Now, under the tremor, it glowed with a faint cyan light, and the characters became clear. Zan Su, a paperweight beast. Shen Yan's heart raced. He had read in the Bureau's miscellanea that in ancient times, artifact spirits guarded the law canon, and paperweight beasts were among them, taking stone form with inscribed runes to sense disturbances in the laws. But this paperweight had always seemed like ordinary stone. How could it? Before he could think, the paperweight beast crawled off the desk, moving slowly but determinedly. It bit the hem of his robe and nudged its head toward the open cabinet. Shen Yan followed its gaze and saw something else inside, a yellowed silk cloth, covered in what looked like patterns. He bent down to reach for the cloth, but a loud, rhythmic footstep suddenly echoed outside, accompanied by the clink of metal law patrol guards. Panic surged through Shen Yan. The Bureau's guards specialized in detecting law disturbances. The tremor and the brush's glow must have been noticed. He stuffed the broken brush into his robe, grabbed the paperweight beast, and covered it with an old file. He slammed the cabinet shut, jamming the copper strip into the lock to make it look undisturbed. The footsteps drew closer, stopping at the archive door. With a creak, the door opened. Leading the group was a young man in a black Law Patrol uniform, a gilded plate hanging at his waist engraved with Law Patrol Division, Xiao Yan. Shen Yan recognized him. He was the nephew of the prison division director, said to have reached the late key attraction realm. His gilded plate could detect law abnormalities within 10 paces. Xiao Yan scanned the archive, his eyes lingering on the iron cabinet before settling on the ink ingot. He lifted the gilded plate from his waist, channeling a wisp of spiritual energy into it. The plate glowed faintly red, and when the light passed over the ink ingot, it brightened slightly, as if sensing something. Shen Yan. Xiao Yan's voice was calm but authoritative. There was a law disturbance here just now. What did you see? Shen Yan's palms were sweaty. He bowed his head, forcing his voice to sound steady. Reporting to Flag Lord Zhao, I've been organizing old files the entire time. I didn't notice any disturbance. Maybe the wind outside made the cabinet creak? As he spoke, he subtly kicked the scattered papers under his desk. Xiao Yan said nothing, sweeping the plate around the room again. The red light flickered when it passed over Shen Yan's chest, then dimmed. Just then, the paperweight beast moved. It crawled out from under the file and knocked over the candle. Sparks flew onto the scattered papers. Though they didn't catch fire, gray characters began to appear on the pages, signs of the error character law, indicating nearby laws had been tampered with. Xiao Yan's expression darkened instantly. He knelt down to examine the papers, his fingers brushing the gray characters. How could there be so many error characters? He muttered. Shen Yan took the opportunity to tuck the brush deeper into his robe, his heart pounding. He watched Xiao Yan, then glanced at the paperweight beast. It had clearly helped him. What secrets did this unassuming stone turtle and the broken bone brush hold? Never mind. Note this down and report it to the Law Network Division tomorrow. Xiao Yan stood up, putting away the gilded plate. He gave Shen Yan a cold look. Guard this room. Don't let anyone in. If anything else goes wrong, you'll be held responsible. With that, he led the guards away, their footsteps fading into the distance. Shen Yan collapsed into his chair, his back soaked in cold sweat. He pulled the broken brush from his robe. Under the candlelight, the revision characters still glowed faintly cyan. The ink ingot continued to seep black tears, and the characters' ink ingots shall not awaken spiritually on the paper seemed clearer than before. The paperweight beast crawled back to his feet, nuzzling his robe as if to comfort him. Shen Yan bent down to touch its shell, feeling its cold surface and a faint pulse of spiritual energy. This time he was certain. The paperweight beast was alive. It seems this abandoned archive holds more secrets than I thought. Shen Yan tightened his grip on the brush, his gaze returning to the rusted cabinet. The silk cloth he hadn't had time to take, the papers covered in error characters, and this broken brush that could make ink weep. Maybe he, a lowly clerk without a spiritual root, was finally about to get a chance to change his fate. What he didn't know was that behind this chance lay either the mission to correct the heavens with a brush or the void mist that could devour everything. The story continues, and the following episodes will be even more exciting. Subscribe as soon as possible.
All the novel videos posted on this site are from discoverstories.xyz. The website will be updated continuously.